Welcome to the session on cloud computing and its application. In this session, we will talk about module number 3, chapter number 6. Name of the chapter is Concurrent Computing, Thread Programming. In particular, we will talk about the topic programming applications with threads. Programming application with threads. Modern applications perform multiple operations at the same time. Developers organize programs in terms of threads in order to express intra-process concurrency. The use of threads might be implicit or explicit. Implicit threading happens when the underlying APIs use internal threads to perform specific tasks, supporting the execution of applications such as GUI rendering or garbage collection in the case of virtual machine based languages. Explicit threading is characterized by the use of threads within a program by application developers who use this abstraction to introduce parallelism. Common cases in which threads are explicitly used are input-output devices and network connections, or long computations, or the execution of background operations whose outcome does not have specific time bounds. The use of threads was initially directed to allowing asynchronous operations, in particular providing facility for asynchronous input-output or long computations so that the user interfaces of application did not block or become unresponsive. With the advent of parallel architectures, the use of multi-threading has become a useful technique to increase the throughput of the system and a viable options for throughput computing. To this purpose, the use of threads strongly impact the design of algorithms that need to be refactored in order to leverage threads. So in this session, we will discuss the use of threading as a support to the design of parallel and distributed algorithm. So what is a thread? A thread identifies a single control flow, which is a logical sequence of instructions within a process. By logical sequence of instructions, we mean a sequence of instructions that have been designed to be executed one after the other. More commonly, a thread identifies a kind of process that is used for sieving and the feeling of continuity that is expressed by the interlocked fibers that of the yarn is used to recall the concept that the instructions of a thread expresses a logically continuous sequence of operations. Operating system that supports multi-threading identify thread as the minimal building blocks for expressing running code. This means that despite their explicit use by developers, any sequence of instructions that is executed by the operating system is within the context of a thread. As a consequence, each process contains at least one thread, but in several cases is composed of many threads having variable lifetimes. Threads within the same process share the memory space and the execution context. Besides this, there is no substitutional difference between threads belonging to the different processes. In a multitasking environment, the operating system assigns a different time slice to each process and interleaves their execution. The process of temporarily stopping the execution of one process, saving all the information in the registry, and replacing it with the information related to another process is also known as context switching. This operation is generally considered demanding, and the use of multi-threading minimizes the latency imposed by context switches, thus allowing the execution of multiple tasks in a lighter fashion. The state representing the execution of a thread is minimal compared to the one described in a process. Figure showing the overview of relationship between the thread and the process. The relationship between the thread and the process and simplified relationship of the runtime execution of multi-thread applications. A running program is identified by a process which contains at least one thread called also called main thread. Such a thread is implicitly created by the compiler or by the runtime environment executing the program as shown in the figure. This thread is likely to be the last for the entire lifetime of the process and to be the origin of the other threads, which in general exhibit shorter duration. As a main thread, these threads can span other threads. Therefore, there is no difference between the main thread and other threads created during the process lifetime. Each of them has its own local storage, a sequence of instructions to be executed, and share the memory space allocated for the entire process. Execution of the process is considered to be terminated when all the threads are completed. Next we will see thread APIs. Even though the support for multi-threading varies according to the operating system and the specific programming languages that are used to develop applications, it is possible to identify a minimum set of features that are commonly available across all the implementation. So here we'll discuss POSIX threads, threading supporting in Java and .NET. First one is POSIX threads. POSIX stands for Portable Operating System Interface for Unix, is a set of standards for the application programming interfaces for a portable development of application over the Unix operating system flavors. The standards address the Unix-based operating systems, but an implementation of the same specification has been provided for Windows-based systems. The POSIX standard defines the following operations: creation of threads with attributes, termination of threads, waiting for thread completion. In addition to the logical structure of threads, other abstractions are introduced in order to support proper synchronization among threads such as semaphore, conditions, read-write locks, and others. The model proposed by POSIX has been taken as a reference for other implementation that might provide developers with a different interface but with a similar behavior. So what is the importance to remember from a programming point of view is the following. A thread identifies a logical sequence of instructions. A thread is mapped to a function that contains the sequence of instructions to execute. A thread can be created, terminated, or joined. A thread has a state that determines its current condition, whether it is executed, stopped, terminated, waiting for input output, etc. The sequence of states that the thread undergoes is partially determined by the operating system scheduler and partially by the application developers. Threads share the memory of the process, and since they are executed concurrently, they need to synchronize structures. Different synchronization abstractions are provided to solve different synchronization problems. A default implementation of POSIX 1.c specification has been provided for the C language. All the functions and data structure available are exposed in pthread.h header file, which is the part of the standard C implementations. Threading support in Java and .NET. Languages such as Java and C# provide a rich set of functionalities for multi-threaded programming by using an object-oriented approach. Since both Java and .NET execute code on top of the virtual machines, the APIs exposed by the libraries refer to managed or logical threads. These are mapped to a physical threads by the runtime environment in which the program developed with these languages execute. Despite such a mapping process, mapped threads are considered from a programming point of view as physical threads and expose the same functionalities. Both Java and .NET express the thread abstraction with the class thread exposing the common operations performed on the threads such as start, stop, suspend, resume, abort, sleep, join, and interrupt. Start and stop are used to control the lifetime of the thread instance, while suspend and resume are used to programmatically pause and then continue the execution of the thread. These two operations are generally deprecated in both of the two implementation that favors the use of appropriate techniques involving proper locks of the use of sleep operations. This operation allows pausing the execution of a thread for a predefined period of time. This one is different from the join operation that makes one thread wait until another thread is completed. These waiting states can be interrupted by using the interrupt operation, which resumes the execution of the thread and generates an expectations within the code of the thread to notify the abnormal resumptions. Two frameworks provide different supports for implementing synchronization among threads. In general, the basic features for implementing mutex, critical regions, read-write locks are completely covered by means of the basic class libraries or additional libraries. More advanced constructors, more advanced constructs than the thread abstractions are available in the both of the languages, that is Java and .NET. In case of Java, most of them are contained in the java.util.concurrent package, while the rich set of APIs for concurrent programming in .NET is further extended by the .NET Parallel Extension Framework. URL is given there, the slide. Next we will see techniques for parallel computing with threads. Developing parallel applications requires an understanding of the problem and its logical structure. Understanding the dependencies and the correlation of tasks within an application is fundamental for designing the right program structure and to introduce parallelism wherever appropriate. Decomposition is a useful technique that helps understanding whether a problem is divided into components that can be executed concurrently. In such decomposition, if such decomposition is possible, it also provides a starting point for a parallel implementation since it allows the breaking down into independent unit of work that can be executed concurrently with the support provided by the threads. So there are two main decomposition techniques used in the areas are domain decomposition and functional decomposition. So first we will see domain decomposition. Developing parallel applications requires an understanding of the problem and its logical structure. Understanding the dependencies and the correlation of tasks within an application is fundamental for designing the right program structure and to introduce parallelism wherever appropriate. Decomposition is a useful technique that helps understanding whether a problem is divided into components that can be executed concurrently. If such decomposition is possible, it also provides a straight starting point for parallel implementation since it allows the breaking down of the independent unit of work that can be executed concurrently with the support of threads. Domain decomposition is a process of identifying patterns of functionally repetitive but independent computation on data. This is the most common type of decomposition in case of throughput computing, and it relates to the identification of repetitive calculation required for solving a problem. When these calculations are identical, only differ from the data they operate on, and can be executed in any order, the problem is said to be embarrassingly parallel. Embarrassingly parallel problems constitute the easiest case for parallelization because there is no need to synchronize different threads which do not share any data. Moreover, the coordination and the communication between threads are minimal. This strongly simplifies the code logic and allows a high computing throughput. In many cases, it is possible to devise a general structure for solving such problems, and in general problems that can be parallelized through domain decomposition. The master-slave model is a quite common organization for these scenarios. The system is divided into two major code segments. One code segment contains the decomposition and coordination logic. Another code segment contains the repetitive computations to perform. A master thread executes the first code segment. As a result of master thread execution, as many slave threads as needed are created to execute the repetitive computations. The collection of the result from each of the slave threads and an eventual composition of the final results are performed by the master thread. While the complexity of the repetitive computation strictly depends on the nature of the problem, the coordination and decomposition logic is often quite simple and involves identifying the appropriate number of unit of works to create. In general, a while or for a loop is used to express the decomposition logic, and each iteration generates a new unit of work to be assigned to the slave thread. And optimization of this process involves the use of thread pooling to limit the number of threads used to repetitive computation. Several practical problems fall into this category, and in a case of embarrassingly parallel problems are geometrical transformation of two-dimension data sets, independent and repetitive computations over a domain such as Mandelbrot sets and Monte Carlo computations. Even though embarrassingly parallel problems are quite common, they are based on the strong assumption that at each of the iteration of the decomposition method, it is possible to isolate an independent unit of work. This is what makes it possible to obtain a high computation throughput. Such condition is not met if the value of each of the iterations are dependent on some of the values obtained in the previous iterations. The diagram showing the domain decomposition technique. In the case, the problem, even though embarrassingly parallel problems are quite common, they are based on the strong assumption that each of the iteration of the decomposition method, it is possible to isolate an independent unit of work. This is what it makes possible to obtain a high computation throughput. Such condition is not met if the value of each of the iterations are dependent on some of the values obtained in the previous iteration. In this case, the problem is said to be inherently sequential and it is not possible to directly apply the methodology that is described previously. Despite this, it can still be possible to break down the whole computation into set of independent unit of work which might have a different granularity, for example by grouping into single computation dependent iterations as shown in the figure. One of the example for domain decomposition technique is matrix multiplication using multiple threads. It is explained in the notes. Kindly refer the notes. Next we will see functional decomposition. Functional decomposition is the process of identifying functionally distinct but independent computations. The focus here is on the type of computation rather than on the data manipulated by the computation. This kind of decomposition is less common and does not lead to the creation of large number of threads, since the different computations that are performed by the single program are limited. Functional decomposition leads to the natural decomposition of the problem in separate unit of work because it does not involve partitioning the data set, but the separation among them is clearly defined by distinct logic operations. Figure figure showing provides a pictorial view of how decomposition operates and allows parallelism. As described by the picture, the problems that are subjected to functional decomposition can also require a composition phase where documents where the outcomes each of the independent unit of work are composed together. In the following, we show a very simple example how a mathematical problem can be parallelized using functional decomposition. Suppose, for example, that we need to calculate the value of the following function for a given value of x. F of x is equal to sin x plus cos x plus tan x. Once the value of x has been set, three different operations can be performed independently of each other. This is an example of functional decomposition because the entire problem can be separated into three distinct operations. The programmable example is there in the notes, kindly refer. Next we will see computation versus communication. It is very important to carefully evaluate the communication patterns among the components that have been identified during problem decomposition. Two decomposition methods presented in this section and the corresponding sample applications are based on the assumption that the computations are independent. This means that input value required by one computation do not depend on the output value generated by the another computation. The different unit of work generated as a result of the decomposition do not need to interact, that is, exchanging data with each other. These two assumptions strongly simplify the implementation and allow achieving a high degree of parallelism and throughput. Since all the worker threads are independent from each other, it gives the maximum freedom to the operating system scheduler in scheduling all the threads. The need to execute data among different threads introduce the dependencies among them and ultimately can result in introducing performance bottleneck. For example, we need not have to introduce any queuing technique for threads, but queuing threads might potentially constitute a problem for execution of the application if data needs to be exchanged with some threads that are still in the queue. A more common disadvantage is given by the fact that while a thread exchanges data with another one, it uses some kind of synchronization strategy that might lead to the block the execution of other thread. The more data needs to be exchanged, the more it blocks threads for synchronization, thus ultimately impacting the overall throughput. As a general rule of thumb, it is important to minimize the amount of data that need to be exchanged while implementing parallel and distributed application. The lack of communication among different threads constitutes the condition leading the highest throughput. All the contents of this session has been taken from the textbook Mastering Cloud Computing written by Rajkumar Bhuya. In our next video, we'll see about multi-threading with Aneka. Thank you.